I want to congratulate you on 3 years of Sunday today.
Thank you.
And this is a show that allows you to be in-depth, conversational with your subjects. And you actually recently got the Tracy Morgan treatment yourself.
You've been on the show. Fred's been on the show.
Fred's been on the show.
Early adopters. Thank you very much. Tracy was a couple of weeks ago. He invited us over to his house.
Yep.
Beautiful home. Brought our whole entire crew inside. And, you know, Tracy's got his quirks, and he's the best guy. And you go into the office to sit down for the interview, and we sit down, and he said, Willie, did you notice anything about my office? And I'm like, it's kind of dark in here. And he's like, that's because it's modeled directly after Vito Corleone's office in The Godfather. True story. Complete with the shade, the blinds are down, and it's like to the chair, it's all the same. And as we're talking, we're sitting down, there's a trophy case between us. And I look, and I'm like, there's an Emmy in there. And I've done my homework. I'm like, I know he's nominated. I'm not sure he won an Emmy. And then I look down, there's an Emmy, an Oscar, and a Heisman Trophy. And I'm like, Trey, what's going on with this? He goes, Willie, it's America. Money talks, baby. But then I was like, is that someone else's Heisman Trophy that he bought or just a replica?
Right.
So, but that's
you probably
Tracy.
won't get to the bottom of that story. But I'm jealous because I've known Tracy for a very long time. And before the television show Shark Tank, the Shark Tank I heard the most was Tracy talked about his Shark Tank. Did you actually see the famous Tracy Morgan Shark Tank?
I think the number is 20,000 gallons. He has a 20,000-gallon Shark Tank in his backyard.
Right.
And they're like...
just like in The Godfather.
Exactly, yeah. He's got those black tip reef sharks that were from Australia that he flew in and now live in his backyard somewhere in New Jersey. And we're sitting out there talking. It's all on camera. He's happy to talk about it. And he's like, this is where I come to get my peace of mind. This is where I chill. And he's like, you know, and sometimes I come out here to get freaky. He's like, and he goes, I'll say, baby, tonight I'm Jacques Cousteau. He's just the best.
He is the best person to talk to.
He's the best.
In retrospect, I realized how boring our conversation was, and I apologize.
I
apologize about that.
Now the news guy's here to talk about NATO expansion.
But I do want to talk about the crossover between news and comedy. There have been Morning Joe sketches on SNL this year. Mikey Day plays you. Are you happy when you see yourself on the show?
Like, I mean, well, there's a thing where you wake up on a Sunday morning and you have 100 texts.
Yeah.
And you're like, uh-oh, you were on SNL last night. And you're like, uh-oh. It's okay. It's fine. I'd like to get together with Mike, maybe over coffee. Mikey and I could talk through wardrobe. We could talk through hair.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little mailing it in that's happening.
Yeah.
Just for my part.
I will say yes. The focus is very much on Joe and Mika.
Yeah.
You're a side character.
Right, and maybe that's okay, right?
Yeah.
You're not the focus
I would
of the
say
sketch.
don't work too hard to get the crosshairs on you.
Cancel the coffee for tomorrow downstairs? Okay, I will.
Morning Joe is obviously a show that Donald Trump has reacted to.
Yeah.
I think it's very safe to say that I don't know if he's still watching it, but it's a show he has watched with some amount of religiousness over the years.
Yeah.
And the feedback loop seems to be that if he has something to tell you, he just tells you. And over the years being in news, have you talked to him much?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to him in a couple of years since he really became president and late in his campaign. But like you, probably, if you live in New York and you're on television, whether you were like the overnight weather anchor on Channel 5, he probably called you at some point to talk through some things.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about this is going back years is Trump would call, you'd get his assistant Rona would say, I have Mr. Trump for you. And you go, okay. And he would come through and you're waiting through 20 and 30 minutes for the ask or what's this about? And it was never about anything. It was pure gossip. Like he wanted to talk about the media industry. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And he'd keep you on the line for like 30 minutes and he'd talk about politics and he'd talk about, did you hear who's sleeping with who and all that kind of stuff. He was just like an old school gossip guy who would call you up on the phone at work. And then he'd be like, all right, that's all I got, and hang up.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. Yeah, that's it.
Your father was a newsman as well.
Yeah.
Wrote for the New York Times.
New York Times, yeah.
And wrote a story about Trump years ago.
Yeah, so he was a writer. My dad was for the New York Times in the 80s. And in 1984, he wrote one of the earliest profiles. I think Trump was like 37. And they were like, who is this young, brash guy? Mm-hmm. And so my dad wrote a piece for the New York Times Magazine that ended up on the cover. And so Donald Trump views that as his crowning achievement because what Donald Trump wants more than anything is the approval of the New York Times. And he shows that every day on Twitter. And so my dad wrote the cover story. And if you look right there, that is my dad's story.
Yeah.
Hanging in the office where he's putting in his office, I guess something's happening there. And so Trump, I think...
He could almost putt with his tie, I want to point out.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a longer tie. But yeah, and I think because of that piece, he's always had some weird. My dad is Bill Geist, so he's also William. So maybe Trump thinks I'm him or something.
When he calls you
so he's
up.
always been sort of nice to me because of that piece. But the funny thing is, all that mattered was that he was on the cover of New York Times Magazine. And if you look inside and you read it, my dad was doing in 1984 what people are doing now, which is Trump tells my dad he was #1 in his class at Wharton. And in the next sentence, my dad says, I called Wharton. He was not #1 in his class, didn't receive any honors. You know what I mean? It's like that real-time fact check that is so in vogue over the last couple of years. And it was happening in that piece.
And yet none of us paid attention.
I know. It was all right there.
It was all right there. And we were like, who's on the cover? Oh, I like him. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Congrats on 3 years.
Thanks,
and come
man.
back
Good to
soon.
see you.
Willie Geist, everybody.